been to or heard about the zoo at some point in your life, right? Well, either way, imagine walking through a zoo, looking at the animals through glass windows or cage bars. Now, imagine those zoo enclosures empty. The animals are no longer found in the zoo nor in their natural habitat. They've become extinct. As someone who loves animals and knows what they provide for the earth, I question what happens to the environment when all the wildlife disappears. Today, I'm going to inform my audience about the positive and negative effects of poaching on the environment. In order for you to understand the positive and negative effects of poaching on the environment, I will focus on three main points. First, I will explain the difference between poaching and hunting. Second, how animal populations have dwindled down due to poaching. And last, how this affects the environment around the globe. Now, poaching and hunting are two different activities in regards to the law. Hunting is illegal of the two and requires a license. A July 29, 2015 article titled, "One is it hunting and one is it poaching?" which is affiliated with BBC News, states, hunting is regulated by the government, and hunters must obtain permits authorizing them to kill certain animals. Hunters are issued guidelines and laws that they must abide by unless they wish to face penalties issued by the government. This can range from paying a couple fines, being charged with a misdemeanor, or even going to jail. On the other hand, poaching is illegal and looked down upon. A March 15, 2020 article titled "Poaching," which is affiliated with Encyclopedia Britannica, shares poaching in law, the illegal shooting, trapping, or taking of game, fish, or plants from private property or from a place where such practices are specially reserved or forbidden. It's basically hunting, but without permission to do so from the owner of the land. Now, poachers continue to practice poaching because, one, it gains them a lot of money. For example, poachers who poach elephants for their tusks make a lot of money from selling them because they're made of ivory, which is not only a rarity, but ivory can only be found on the elephant tusks. Now that I have just explained the difference between hunting and poaching, let's move on to my second point. Animal populations have dwindled down due to poaching. For example, the North American gray wolf was this close to extinction. A 2019 article published by Orietta C. Estrada titled "The Devastating Effects of Wildlife Poaching," affiliated with One Green Planet, states, with no natural predator, the elk in Yellowstone National Park nearly ate the aspen tree to extinction. A decrease in the gray wolf's population led to an increase in the elk population, which also led to a decrease in the aspen tree population because the elk, or the large number of elks, began to eat the trees. It's kind of like a domino effect, but in the food chain it causes a disruption. Another example would be elephants that are commonly poached in Africa. A May 28, 2019 article titled "Africa's Elephant Poaching Rates in Decline by Iconic Animals Still Under Threat," which is affiliated with Science Daily, shares it is estimated there are around 350,000 elephants in Africa, but approximately 10 to 15,000 are killed each year by poachers. Once again, the target of these poachers is the elephant tusk, which is made of ivory. Again, a July 24, 2019 article written by Carrie Bebermeyer, the Director of Public Relations at St. Louis University, titled "Elephant Extinction Will Raise Carbon Dioxide Levels in Atmosphere," states, "The collapse of forest elephant populations will likely therefore cause an increase in the abundance of fast-growing tree species at the expense of slow-growing species and reduce the ability of the forest to capture carbon." To further elaborate on this, forest elephants eat fast-growing tree species. Now, without the elephants, or if they were to become extinct, the fast-growing tree species would overtake the grasslands and take over the slower-growing tree species. Now, the forest wouldn't be able to absorb as much carbon because the slower tree species have a certain type of bark that absorb most of the carbon from the air. The faster-growing tree species can only absorb so much carbon. On to my third point, poaching affects everyone's environment positively and negatively around the globe. There are positive effects of poaching on the environment, though only a very few. Population control ties into how it becomes a means of survival in an environment where people struggle financially. You can take tribes, for example. they don't have a market to go to, and the only thing around them is grasslands. Due to this, they go after animals that can reproduce faster and are more beneficial to them. In this way, they go after animals that they can use their bones for sewing or their fur for warmth and meat to eat for survival. On the other hand, poaching has drastic negative impacts on the environment. A recent study titled Risk of Importing Zoonotic Diseases Through Wildlife Trade, United States, published in 2009 in Emerging Infectious Diseases by the CDC, states the number and proportion of these diseases that originate in wild animals in particular has increased substantially in the past few decades, even after accounting for increased reports of new emerging infectious diseases. Now, an example of this would be what we're going through today, the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the lack of precautions and through the illegal wildlife trading, we're going through a tough time as infectious diseases travel from person to person, from animal to animal. Not every country has the adequate healthcare or resources they need right at their fingertips. And so today, we're facing suffering and a lack of resources, a lack of frontliners, and at the same time, death. In conclusion, poaching has different effects on the environment, whether this refers to the earthly environment or the environment humans have created among themselves. Poaching may be illegal, but it still continues to be seen from numerous perspectives around the globe. So, the next time you visit a zoo or see any type of animal, keep in mind that they keep our world turning. You never know when change may come about, and change is inevitable.